When you book your next flight, you want to avoid the number one mistake that I see people make. The mistake is not tracking the price of your flight after you buy it. You want to do that because if the price drops, you can get refunded the difference as a credit. If you know this, then you don't have to worry about waiting for the price of a flight to drop before you buy it. You can go ahead and buy it, and if the price drops, you can get refunded the difference, but if the price goes up, then you're still good. The refund process depends on the airline, but I'll show you a recent example of a Delta flight I bought. I'll show you the process of what I do once I buy the ticket. Once I buy my flight on Delta, then I'll look it up on Google Flights so I can use this track prices feature. What this does is it sends you an email notification every time the price changes. This is really nice so you don't have to manually keep track of all your different flights. I have noticed that Google Flights doesn't always email you when the price changes, so if you have a couple minutes, I would just go on the Google Flights homepage and then click on this View All button, and this will show you all the different flights where you're keeping track of the prices. So usually I spend like a minute or two a day just checking this, just to see if the price has changed for any of my flights. If the price of your flight does change, hopefully you'll get an email that looks like this. It'll show you the flight and how much the original price was and how much it dropped by. Once the price of my flight has dropped, then I'll call this Delta number here and explain the situation. They're usually more than happy to help, and after a few minutes, they should be able to refund the difference as a credit to your account. After a couple hours, your e-credit should appear here. Once you're on the Delta website, click on your name in the top right, and then click on My Profile, and then click on Certificates here. And once you do that, you should see something that looks like this. It'll show you how much you have in your e-credit and when it expires. I want to point out, this only works if you buy a main cabin ticket or above and you book directly with Delta. If you book on sites like Expedia, then this won't work. In this example, I bought this Delta flight with points, but the same idea that if the price drops, you can get refunded the difference. So I originally paid 22,000 miles, and then I got a notification that the price dropped, and so I called Delta and they were able to refund me the rest of the 4,000 miles. Even though it says refunded here, this is how Delta handled it on their end. On my Delta app, I still saw the same exact flight and I didn't have to rebook my seat or get a new confirmation number. A couple of hours later, I was able to see the 4,000 points in my account. Similar to the last Delta flight, I recently bought an Alaska flight for around 20,000 miles. Usually, when I buy a flight on Alaska with points, once I buy it, I just forget about it because I always thought the point price stayed the same even if the cash price dropped. But I checked a couple days later and actually saw that the point price of this flight dropped from 20,000 to 12,500 points. So I could have done what I did with Delta and call them to refund the difference, but I knew that if you buy a flight with points on Alaska, it's a refundable main ticket, which means that you get all your points back. So what I did is I went ahead and canceled it and just rebooked the same exact flight like you can see here. So this is the original flight I bought. This is when I got refunded, and this is when I rebooked it. So I was able to save 7,500 points on this flight. So even if you book a flight with points, I've learned it doesn't hurt to check to see if the price drops. You never know if you can get refunded the difference, and it does depend airline to airline. So I would just keep track of it, and then you can always call them and ask what the policy is. If you want to learn more about how to score some great deals on flights using your credit card points, check out the video here.